What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected legends comes face to face with a host who crosses every single line? It only took one disrespectful comment about his family for Denzel Washington to walk off set, leaving Kelly Clarkson speechless and the entire studio in complete shock. Before we get into this, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because we're pulling back the curtain on Hollywood's dark side. We're exposing entitled celebrities and their shocking behavior the cameras never showed you. We've got the raw footage they don't want you to see, and you won't want to miss a single reveal. Drop a comment below and let us know what you think about this outrageous behavior. So picture this. Denzel Washington walks onto the Kelly Clarkson show set. The audience is going absolutely wild. Everyone's on their feet, clapping, screaming his name. This is Denzel we're talking about, a living legend, two-time Oscar winner, the man who gave us Malcolm X, Training Day, Glory. He's respected by everyone in the industry. He sits down across from Kelly, gives that signature Denzel smile, and the interview starts off normal enough. Kelly's asking him about his latest project. Denzel's being his usual charming self, talking about the craft, talking about what drew him to the role. The audience is eating it up. Everything seems fine. But then, things start to shift. Kelly leans forward and says, "So Denzel, you've been in this industry for what, like 40 years now? When are you going to retire and let the younger actors have their moment?" You can see Denzel's face change just a little bit, but he keeps it professional. He laughs it off and says, "Well, Kelly, I'm still here because I love what I do. And as long as directors want to work with me and audiences want to see me, I'll keep showing up." The audience claps. It's a perfect answer. Gracious, humble, but also confident. But Kelly, she doesn't let it go. She actually rolls her eyes a little bit and says, "Right. But don't you think it's kind of selfish? I mean, there are so many talented young black actors out there who could use those roles you're taking." The audience gets quiet. You can hear people shifting in their seats. This is already uncomfortable. Denzel keeps his cool though. He sits back, takes a breath, and says, "I don't think I'm taking anything from anyone. There's room for all of us. I've actually spent a lot of my career mentoring young actors, helping them get their start." Kelly waves her hand like she's brushing off what he just said. Sure, but let's be real. You're not exactly hurting for money, right? Why not step aside? Now Denzel's jaw tightens. You can see it. The man is trying so hard to stay calm. He says, "I don't think my financial situation has anything to do with my passion for acting. I work hard for every role I get." But Kelly just keeps going. She actually interrupts him and says, "Okay, but can we talk about how you've been kind of difficult to work with lately? I've heard some rumors from people in the industry." The audience gasps, literally gasps. You can hear it. Denzel sits forward now, his eyes locked on Kelly, and he says very calmly, "What rumors are you talking about?" Kelly smirks, actually smirks, like she's enjoying this. She says, "Oh, just that you're demanding, that you think you're better than everyone else on set, that you make impossible requests." Denzel's voice is still calm, but you can hear the edge in it now. "I have high standards for my work. I expect professionalism. If that makes me difficult, then I guess I'm difficult. But I treat everyone on set with respect, and I expect the same in return." Kelly laughs. She actually laughs at him. "Come on, Denzel. High standards? Or just high maintenance? There's a difference." The audience is dead silent now. This is painful to watch. Denzel's not smiling anymore. He says, "Kelly, I came here to talk about my film. I didn't come here to be disrespected." And this is where Kelly really crosses the line. She leans back in her chair, crosses her arms, and says, "Oh, you're feeling disrespected? That's funny coming from someone who's been accused of being disrespectful to others. Maybe you should look in the mirror." Denzel stands up, just stands right up. The audience doesn't know what to do. Kelly looks shocked, like she didn't think he'd actually react. Denzel looks at her and says, "I've been nothing but professional. I've answered your questions, but I won't sit here and let you attack my character based on rumors and gossip." Kelly stands up too, and she says, "Oh, so now you're too good to finish the interview? This is exactly what I'm talking about. The ego." Denzel shakes his head. "This has nothing to do with ego. This has to do with respect, something you clearly don't understand." Kelly's voice gets louder. "Respect? You want to talk about respect? You come on my show, you act like you're above it all, like you're doing me some kind of favor by being here." Denzel's voice stays level, but it's firm. "I came here as a guest. You invited me. And instead of having a conversation, you've spent the last 10 minutes trying to tear me down. Why? What's the point? Kelly points at him and says, the point is that someone needs to call you out. Everyone's too scared to say anything because you're Denzel Washington. But you're not untouchable. The audience is completely frozen. Some people have their hands over their mouths. This is unlike anything anyone has ever seen on a daytime talk show. Denzel looks around at the crew, at the cameras, then back at Kelly. He says, you know what? You're right. I'm not untouchable. I'm a human being. And as a human being, I have the right to be treated with basic decency, something you failed to do today. Kelly crosses her arms tighter. So what, you're just gonna leave? Run away because you can't handle a little criticism? Denzel actually laughs, but it's not a happy laugh. It's a laugh of disbelief. Criticism? You think that's what this was? You haven't criticized my work. You haven't asked me one substantive question about my craft. You've just attacked me personally. Kelly rolls her eyes again. Oh, please, don't be so dramatic. And that's when Denzel's voice gets quieter, but somehow more powerful. I've been in this industry for decades. I've sat through thousands of interviews. I've been asked tough questions, challenging questions, and I've always engaged honestly. But I've never been treated with such blatant disrespect. Kelly throws her hands up. There you go again with the disrespect thing. You know what your problem is? You can't handle anyone questioning you. You're so used to everyone kissing up to you. Denzel looks directly into her eyes. My problem? My problem is that I expected to have a professional conversation, and instead I walked into an ambush. You clearly had an agenda coming into this. Kelly's face gets red. An agenda? I'm just asking questions that other people are too afraid to ask. Denzel nods slowly. No, you're making accusations disguised as questions. There's a difference. A good interviewer knows how to challenge their guests without being disrespectful. You've crossed that line repeatedly. Then Kelly says something that makes everything worse. She says, you know what? Maybe the rumors are true. Maybe you are just a bitter old man who can't handle that his time is up. The audience actually boos. They boo Kelly. On her own show, Denzel just stares at her for a long moment. Then he says very quietly, I'm done here. He starts to walk off the set. Kelly calls after him. Oh great, just walk away. Real mature, Denzel. He stops, turns around, walks back toward her. The security guards actually step forward a little bit because the tension is so thick. But Denzel just stands there, looks at Kelly, and says, you want to know what maturity is? Maturity is knowing when a conversation has stopped being productive. Maturity is refusing to engage with someone who's more interested in creating drama than having a real dialogue. Kelly scoffs. This is my show. You don't get to lecture me on my own show. Denzel nods. You're right. It is your show. And you just showed everyone watching exactly what kind of show it is. You had one of the most respected actors in Hollywood sitting across from you. And instead of having a meaningful conversation, you chose to be petty and cruel. Kelly's voice goes up even higher. I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. Maybe you're just not used to people being honest with you. Denzel's response is calm but cutting. Honest? You don't even know me. Everything you've said today has been based on gossip and assumptions. That's not honesty. That's just mean-spirited. Kelly points at the audience. They agree with me. They want to hear the truth. But the audience is actually shaking their heads. Some people are calling out no, and leave him alone. Kelly looks shocked. She clearly expected them to be on her side. Denzel sees this and says, the truth? Here's the truth. I've spent my entire career trying to elevate this craft. I've worked with young actors. I've supported independent films. I've used my platform to tell important stories. And I've done it while maintaining my dignity and respecting others. Kelly interrupts him. Oh, here comes the speech. But Denzel keeps going. You invited me here. You asked me to come on your show. And then you spent the entire time trying to humiliate me. Why? What did you think was going to happen? Kelly's voice cracks a little. I thought we were going to have a real conversation, not some sanitized interview where I just throw you softball questions. Denzel shakes his head. There's a difference between asking tough questions and being antagonistic. You could have asked me about challenges in my career. You could have asked me about difficult roles. You could have asked me about the state of the industry. Instead, you attacked my character. Then Kelly says something that pushes it over the edge. She says, you know what? Your wife probably deals with this attitude at home. I feel sorry for her. The entire studio goes silent. You could hear a pin drop. Denzel's face changes completely. His voice drops to almost a whisper. What did you just say? Kelly realizes she went too far, but she tries to play it off. I'm just saying, if you act like this in an interview, I can only imagine what you're like at home. Denzel takes a step closer. You don't talk about my family. You don't know anything about my family. That's a line you don't cross. Kelly backs up a little. I'm just making an observation. Denzel's voice is shaking now, but not with anger, with hurt. An observation? You just insulted my wife. A woman you've never met. A woman who has been by my side for over 40 years. You have no right. Kelly tries to recover. Look, I didn't mean. But Denzel cuts her off. No, you meant it. You've meant everything you've said today. This whole interview has been designed to get a reaction out of me. Well, congratulations. You got it. He starts walking off the set again. This time, Kelly doesn't say anything. She just stands there, looking at the audience, looking at the cameras. The audience starts clapping. They're clapping for Denzel, supporting him. Kelly's face is bright red. Denzel stops at the edge of the stage, turns back one more time, and says, "You know what the saddest part of all this is? You had an opportunity to have a real conversation. You could have asked me about my journey, about what I've learned, about what advice I'd give to young actors. Instead, you chose to be small. You chose to try to tear me down. And for what? Ratings?" Kelly finally speaks up. "This is still my show, Denzel." He nods. "It is, and you're welcome to it, but I won't be a part of it anymore. I have too much respect for myself and for my family." As he walks through the curtain, you can hear him say to someone off camera, "Get me out of here." The audience is still clapping. Some people are standing up. Kelly is just standing there on stage, her microphone's still on, and she says, "Well, I guess we'll go to commercial." But before they cut away, you can hear people in the audience yelling things. "You were rude. He didn't deserve that. Apologize." Kelly's trying to smile, trying to play it off, but you can see it in her face. She knows she messed up. When they come back from commercial, Kelly's sitting at her desk alone. "No Denzel," she says. "Well, that didn't go as planned. I want to apologize if anyone was offended by that interview." But she doesn't apologize to Denzel. She apologizes if people were offended. That's a big difference. The audience is quiet. No one's clapping. No one's cheering. She tries to move on to the next segment, but you can tell everyone's still thinking about what just happened. Meanwhile, backstage, Denzel is taking off his microphone, handing it to a production assistant, and heading straight for the exit. Someone from the show tries to stop him, tries to smooth things over, but he just shakes his head and keeps walking. His team surrounds him, and they leave the building. This whole thing happened in front of a live studio audience. Hundreds of people watched it unfold in real time. And the thing is, Denzel Washington is known for being professional. He's known for being gracious in interviews. He's done thousands of them over his career. The fact that he walked off says everything about how badly Kelly handled this. Let's break down what actually happened here. Kelly started off by questioning his relevance, suggesting he should retire and make room for younger actors. That's already disrespectful. Then she accused him of being selfish. Then she brought up industry rumors without any specifics or sources. Then she called him high maintenance. Then she questioned his character. And finally, she brought his wife into it. His family. That was the final straw. At every step, Denzel tried to respond professionally. He answered her questions. He explained his position. He tried to steer the conversation back to his work, but Kelly kept pushing, kept attacking, kept trying to get a reaction. And when she finally got one, she acted like he was being unreasonable. The audience saw it. They were there. They heard every word. And they sided with Denzel. That tells you everything you need to know. When your own audience turns on you in the middle of your own show, you've lost the room. Kelly tried to frame this as her being willing to ask tough questions that others won't. But there's a difference between tough questions and personal attacks. A tough question would be, how do you choose your roles at this stage in your career? Or, what do you think about the criticism that Hollywood doesn't create enough opportunities for actors of color? Those are substantive questions that could lead to interesting conversations. Instead, Kelly made it personal. She questioned his motives, his character, his relationships. She didn't ask about his work. She attacked him as a person, and then she acted surprised when he decided he'd had enough. Think about what Denzel said during the confrontation. He pointed out that he'd been invited as a guest. He didn't crash the show. He didn't demand to be there. Kelly's team reached out to him, asked him to appear, and he said yes. He showed up on time, ready to promote his film and have a conversation. And instead of treating him like a guest, Kelly treated him like an opponent. When someone invites you into their home and then spends the whole time insulting you, you leave. That's what Denzel did. He left. And he had every right to do so. The comment about his wife was what really did it, though. Denzel Washington has been married to Pauletta Washington for over 40 years, 4 decades. In Hollywood, that's basically unheard of. They've raised 4 children together. By all accounts, they have a strong, loving marriage. For Kelly to bring her up, to make a snide comment about what she must deal with, that was crossing a major line. Family is off limits. That's an unwritten rule in these kinds of interviews. You can ask about someone's work. You can even ask challenging questions about their public statements or actions. But you don't attack their family. You don't speculate about their personal relationships. And you definitely don't insult their spouse. When Kelly made that comment, you could see Denzel's entire demeanor change. Up until that point, he'd been frustrated, annoyed, even angry. But when she brought up his wife, it became personal in a different way. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about protecting someone he loves from an unwarranted attack. His response was measured. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't get physical. He simply said she crossed a line, and he was done. That's emotional maturity. That's knowing your boundaries and enforcing them. He could have exploded. He could have said things he'd regret. Instead, he removed himself from the situation. Kelly's reaction to all of this is telling too. She didn't apologize in the moment. She didn't say, "You're right. I went too far. I'm sorry." She doubled down. She tried to make it seem like he was being overly sensitive. She accused him of not being able to handle criticism. She made herself the victim. Even after he walked off, when she came back from commercial, she gave a non-apology. "I'm sorry. If anyone was offended, is not the same as, 'I'm sorry for what I said.' One takes responsibility. The other puts the blame on people for being offended." Kelly chose the latter. The audience's reaction throughout this whole thing is important too. They started off excited to see Denzel. They clapped and cheered when he walked out. They laughed at his jokes at the beginning of the interview. But as Kelly got more and more aggressive, the audience got quieter. They stopped laughing. They stopped clapping. When Kelly made the comment about his wife, you could actually hear people gasp and say, "Oh no," and "That's too far." The audience knew she'd crossed a line. And when Denzel walked off, they clapped for him. They supported his decision to leave. They were on his side. That's significant because studio audiences usually support the host. It's their show. The audience is there to see them. But in this case, Kelly was so out of line that her own audience turned against her. They recognized that Denzel was being mistreated, and they showed their support for him. After Denzel left, you could feel the energy in the room change. It wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't entertaining. It was awkward and uncomfortable. The rest of the show had to continue, but everyone was thinking about what had just happened. The other guests had to come out and pretend everything was normal. The audience had to sit through the rest of the taping, but nothing was normal. This interview shows what happens when a host forgets that their job is to facilitate interesting conversations, not to create conflict for the sake of conflict. Kelly wasn't trying to get to the truth. She wasn't trying to understand Denzel's perspective. She was trying to create a viral moment. She wanted to be the person who made Denzel Washington uncomfortable. She wanted the headlines. Well, she got the headlines, but not the ones she wanted. Instead of being seen as a fearless interviewer who asked tough questions, she's seen as someone who disrespected a legend. Instead of getting praised for her boldness, she's getting criticized for her cruelty. The viral moment happened, but she's not the hero of the story. Denzel, on the other hand, comes out of this looking even better than he did going in. He showed restraint. He showed dignity. He tried multiple times to redirect the conversation. And when it became clear that Kelly wasn't interested in having a real dialogue, he made the decision to leave. He didn't storm off in a rage. He didn't throw anything. He didn't insult Kelly personally. He simply said, "This isn't acceptable, and I'm not participating in it anymore." That takes strength. It's easy to fight back. It's easy to match aggression with aggression. It's much harder to stay calm, state your boundaries clearly, and walk away. Denzel did the harder thing. Throughout his career, Denzel Washington has been known for his professionalism. He shows up prepared. He takes his work seriously. He treats people with respect. This interview doesn't change that. If anything, it reinforces it. Even when provoked, even when disrespected, he maintained his dignity. Kelly Clarkson, on the other hand, showed a different side of herself. Maybe she was having a bad day. Maybe she felt like she needed to prove something. Maybe she genuinely thought this was good television. Whatever the reason, she made a series of choices that led to one of the most uncomfortable moments in talk show history. The thing is, this didn't have to happen. Denzel is a great interview. He's thoughtful, articulate, and has amazing stories. Kelly could have asked him about working with directors like Spike Lee and Ridley Scott. She could have asked about his approach to building characters. She could have asked about his production company and the projects he's developing. She could have asked about his experience on Broadway. There were so many directions this interview could have gone. Instead, she chose confrontation. She chose to make it about rumors and gossip rather than about his work. She chose to question his character rather than celebrate his achievements, and she paid the price for those choices. When you're interviewing someone, especially someone of Denzel's caliber, you have a responsibility. Your job is to create an environment where they feel comfortable sharing insights and stories. Your job is to ask questions that reveal something interesting about them. Your job is not to ambush them or make them defensive. Kelly forgot that. Or maybe she never understood it in the first place. Either way, she turned what should have been a highlight of her show into a disaster. She had Denzel Washington, one of the greatest actors of all time, sitting across from her, and she blew it. The saddest part is that there are real conversations to be had about representation in Hollywood, about older actors and opportunities, about the challenges of maintaining a long career in a youth-obsessed industry. Those are legitimate topics, but the way to explore them is not through accusation and attack. It's through thoughtful questions and genuine curiosity. If Kelly had approached those topics respectfully, Denzel would have engaged. He's spoken about these issues before in other interviews. He's thoughtful about his place in the industry. He's aware of the responsibility that comes with being a successful black actor in Hollywood. But he's not going to have that conversation with someone who's attacking him. The confrontation escalated because Kelly kept pushing. Every time Denzel tried to de-escalate, she pushed harder. When he tried to be diplomatic, she accused him of avoiding the question. When he answered directly, she dismissed his answer. She created a no-win situation for him, and that's when he made the decision to leave. Not because he couldn't handle the heat, not because he was being overly sensitive, but because he recognized that nothing productive was going to come from continuing the conversation. Kelly wasn't listening. She wasn't engaging. She was just attacking. And Denzel decided he didn't need to subject himself to that. It's worth noting that Denzel has done interviews with journalists who have asked him difficult questions. He's been asked about controversial roles. He's been asked about political issues. He's been asked about representation and race in Hollywood. And he's engaged with those questions thoughtfully and honestly. The difference is that those interviewers approached him with respect. They challenged his ideas, not his character. Kelly did the opposite. She made it personal from the start. And when you make something personal, when you attack someone rather than engaging with their ideas, you lose the ability to have a meaningful conversation. That's what happened here. The moment when Denzel walked off will be remembered. It'll be clipped and shared. It'll be analyzed and discussed. And the consensus will be that he was in the right. He was disrespected. He tried to handle it professionally. And when it became too much, he left. Kelly will have to live with that. She'll have to explain why one of Hollywood's most professional actors felt the need to walk off her show. She'll have to answer questions about her interview style. She'll have to deal with the criticism. This whole incident is a reminder that being a good interviewer is about more than just asking questions. It's about listening. It's about creating a space for honest dialogue. It's about respecting your guest. Kelly failed on all those counts. Denzel Washington walked onto that set as a guest. He walked off as someone who'd been pushed too far, and everyone watching, everyone in that audience, everyone who sees the clip later will understand why. Because at the end of the day, everyone deserves to be treated with basic respect. Even celebrities, even legends, even Denzel Washington. So that's what happened. That's how a routine interview turned into one of the most dramatic moments in daytime television. That's how Kelly Clarkson went from host to antagonist. And that's how Denzel Washington reminded everyone why he's not just a great actor, but a class act.